Hello and welcome. I'm Tony Waters and this is the city of Gloucester, a grand place that has, as you can see, a glorious heritage. And yet perhaps its greatest glory is unknown to the wider public, even though it played an important part in the shaping of our kingdom. I refer, of course, to the English Civil War. After a year of battles across our green and pleasant land, the gaze of one man became fixated upon the city walls. That man was Charles I, and he had put Gloucester under siege. In the year of 1642, the king had raised his standard in Nottingham in a gesture signalling his open defiance of Parliament. Following such an outspoken move, the Parliament declared war upon royalty, and the country was now split: parliamentarian versus royalist, friend versus friend, neighbour versus neighbour, father versus son. Gloucester, however, was made of strong stuff. The city was a parliamentary stronghold, and the House was determined to keep it that way. They were aware of its strategic importance between Wales and England and on the bed of the Severn. As such, they were cash rich, and with this money they brought in Edward Massey, a young colonel, to be its military governor. Massey was quick, sharp and astute. One of his first moves was to bring about the refortification of the city's defences. Next, he ordered the destruction of many homes in the suburbs so as to deny the enemy possible hiding places. Now, one of his most crucial moves was to set up many garrisons around the area, which provided early defence spots and warnings of the enemy. One of these garrisons was at Berkeley Castle, 12 miles south of the city.
Berkeley Castle was a very important place in the Civil War because it was midway between Gloucester and Bristol, so it was on a main routeway, and therefore whenever Bristol or Gloucestershire was threatened, people had to make sure that Berkeley was covered. It changed hands 5 times during the Civil War, and afterwards, when Lord Berkeley got it back, before he could inhabit the castle again, Parliament insisted that this breach here was made so that it could never be used again as a defensive fortress.
In August 1643, the king, with an army of 30,000 men, rolled up outside the gates to demand the surrender of Gloucester. And so, on the 6th of August, as he arrived, the king sent in his summons demanding total surrender to his forces. This summons was returned, eventually, 2 hours after the deadline, with a bold refusal. And so it was, the siege had begun. Gloucester was defended by 1,500 men, 40 barrels of gunpowder, and a further 500 volunteers. And yet none of the king's men could reach far, with deep trenches and boggy marshland covering many possible access routes. Colonel Massey, meanwhile, had only limited artillery with which to respond to the constant battering of the defences by cannon fire. However, after a long, arduous month, and with only 3 barrels of gunpowder left, Lord Essex, a parliamentarian leader, arrived with a relief force of 8,000 men. With his men squeezed from the east up against the city, Charles I realised he was in a weak position and decided to withdraw. So, as history illustrates for us, it was the heroism and stoic determination of a small band of citizens from a small merchant city called Gloucester which played an important part in the shaping of our united kingdom. How truly remarkable.